Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of my series where I'm ranking all of the historical fiction and fantasy TV series that I watched in 2023. So if you made it through part 1, welcome back to part 2. Stay tuned later in the week for part 3. So yeah, we're going to be getting to the middle batch of shows in this particular list. So yeah, before I get going, let me roll out the rules of this series once again. First up, obviously the show must be historical fiction or fantasy. Second, the show must be set before the year 2000, nothing past the year 2000. Third, something that I am doing new this year for this list, I am including shows that have a contemporary setting as long as they have flashbacks that are part of the narrative, flashbacks that are pivotal and take up a pretty large portion of screen time. Next, this ranking is always based off of my personal enjoyment, my personal preferences. And last, all of the series in this ranking are series that are brand new to me, even if they came out a couple years ago. At number 20, Sanditon Season 3. Returning to Sanditon one last time before her upcoming marriage, Charlotte struggles with her complicated feelings for Mr. Colburn, while Georgiana faces a threat that poses a risk towards her great fortune. Starring Rose Williams, Crystal Clark, and Ben Lloyd Hughes. Season 3 of Sanditon was such a satisfying conclusion to this series. A nice completion, a nice wrap up of these characters. I don't think there were any dangling threads or anything. Now, let me say this. I think season 1 of this show is still the best season of this show, and I was kind of the opinion that we really didn't need to have a season 2 or 3. The way season 1 ended, even though it was a shock and it was upsetting, the thing is, I like that it took that approach. I'm not going to spoil anything here, but if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. I liked how season 1 took a completely different approach to the work of Jane Austen with that final couple minutes of the show. So I really don't think we had to have season 2 and 3. But yeah, the fan uproar was so insane and so intense that, yeah, PBS was like, okay, we'll pick up Sanditon and we'll give it a season 2 and 3. So yeah, even though I was personally fine with how things ended, I'm still really highly grateful and appreciative that PBS bothered to pick up this show and give it another shot, because it didn't have to do that. I'm grateful and appreciative of that. I'm glad we got to spend a little bit more extended time in this world and with these characters and where their stories and their journeys went. Yeah, like I said, season 3 I think was a really satisfying conclusion. It was a lot of fun. It was emotional. Everything turned out kind of how you're expecting it to. It's based off off of Jane Austen, the world of Jane Austen. Things are going to be rather predictable. Things are going to go and turn out a certain way. So yeah, if you're thinking certain things like which couple's going to end up with who, your guess is most likely going to be accurate. But yeah, season 3, fun, exciting, satisfying. Like I said, I'm really glad PBS picked this show up for 2 additional seasons after the way season 1 ended. At number 19, All the Light We Cannot See. The story of Marie-Laure, a blind French teenager, and Werner, a German soldier, whose paths collide in occupied France as both try to survive the devastation of World War II. Starring Aria Mia Liberti, Louis Hoffman, Mark Ruffalo, and Hugh Laurie. So this show was a miniseries, and it was based off of the book by Anthony Doerr. And I read this book years and years ago, back when it first came out. And I gotta say, I was not really that impressed with the book. I found a lot of the book to be kind of frustrating, even though there was a lot about it that I did like and whatnot. There was still a lot about it that I was kind of frustrated with. And I remember in my review, I kept comparing it to Marcus Zuzak's The Book Thief, because I am a huge fan of The Book Thief, and I felt like there was a lot about the book by Anthony Doerr, All the Light We Cannot See. I felt like the book was almost trying to be too much like like The Book Thief, and it was trying to be too literary and too smart for its own good. So I had a lot of issues with the book. So I went into this show kind of with the mindset, I have a feeling I'm going to prefer the show over the book. And that's exactly what happened. That might be a very unpopular opinion. You know, a lot of people prefer books over movies, but yeah, for me, I kind of preferred this adaptation over the book because I had a lot of issues with the book. I like that this miniseries just condensed everything. You know, it condensed everything because the book is fairly large, and I feel like it's kind of meandering and there's a lot going on that don't need to be in there. So I feel like the show kind of focused in on what it needed to focus in on for me personally. But yeah, I really enjoyed this adaptation. Just gorgeous to look at, you guys. Oh my god, just an absolute gorgeous spectacle of filming and whatnot. And yeah, the casting of the character of Marie Laure, played by Aria Mia Liberti, the character is blind. They hired an actual blind actress. I loved that they did that. Just spot on casting, I think, you know. And then yeah, the character of Werner, played by Louis Hoffman. I just recently saw him this year in the show Dark, so I was like, oh yeah, I get to see him again in something else. So yeah, I personally really enjoyed All the Light We Cannot See. It was very hit or miss with critics and audiences alike, so I'm definitely kind of curious how other people viewed this miniseries. But yeah, I really highly enjoyed it, and I found it to be really emotional and compelling and better than the book in my opinion. At number 18, The Witcher Season 3. Geralt and Yennefer journey to the far reaches of the continent in search of a safe haven in order to protect Ciri from those who wish to either harm her or use her for their own gain. Starring Henry Cavill, Anya Shalatra, Freya Allen, and Joey Beatty. You know, there's a lot of hate for season 3 of The Witcher, and I don't quite understand the hate because I really highly enjoyed this season. Is it just me? I'm just confused about that. I feel like a lot of hate for this show comes from people who have played the video games and people who have read the books, and people just wanted to hate on this show for the sake of hating on it because I really enjoyed this season. I've never played the video games, I've never read the books, I kind of really have no intention of doing any of those things. I kind of just like watching the show as it is. Is that wrong of me? I don't feel like it is. So yeah, I feel like this season had an unfair amount of hate, and yeah, this is Henry Cavill's last season as Geralt, the Witcher, you guys. We're going to get a whole new actor playing Geralt in the next season. I'm a little concerned about that, but I'm also kind of looking forward to it. I feel like there's just no one else who can play the character of Geralt. Henry Cavill is Geralt. But yeah, I like this season. I like the story going on. There was a lot of really huge, big action, epic set pieces and whatnot this season that just kind of blew my mind away. Yeah, a lot of great stuff for me going on this season, and like I said, I just don't understand the hate. At number 17, Marie Antoinette follows the famed Queen Marie Antoinette as she struggles to find her place at the French court and seduce her husband. Starring Amelia Schul, Louis Cunningham, and James Purefoy. This is another show that aired on PBS. Like I said, if it airs on PBS, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to check it out. I don't watch everything on PBS, but I watch a good majority of it. Yeah, this time following Marie Antoinette, you guys, the doomed, infamous queen. This was really good. I was concerned initially. I was like, I just don't know how the show's going to go, but I was really pleasantly surprised with it. I liked kind of the whole vibe and atmosphere of it. It definitely reminded me, if you have seen the TV show Versailles, it's really highly reminiscent of that show in particular, I think. Kind of that same kind of whimsicalness to it, you know, that it's dramatic but also kind of funny in places. I really liked the character of Marie Antoinette in this, you know, because Marie Antoinette is one of those characters or women of history, you know. I think a lot of times she's just really highly misunderstood. And yeah, this show kind of really digs into her, you know, flaws and all, you know, because Marie Antoinette was definitely not a perfect woman. You know, I think she kind of did ignore her country to some degree. She was oblivious to what was going on in her country. And yeah, this show really kind of focused in on just how young and naive she was when she got married and kind of given her a certain kind of mindset going into things. So I like that the show is exploring a young Marie Antoinette and kind of how we probably get to the older Marie Antoinette and what leads to her doom and whatnot, obviously. Yeah, if you like stuff, you know, pre-French Revolution leading up to the French Revolution and whatnot, you'll probably really highly enjoy this. At number 16, Lessons in Chemistry. Set in the 1950s, Elizabeth Zott's dream of being a chemist is put on hold when she finds herself pregnant, alone, and fired from her lab. Starring Brie Larson, Lewis Pullman, and Aja Naomi King. So this is a show that was based off of a book by Bonnie Garmus, I believe is the author. And I remember this book came out a couple years ago, and it was all the rage and all the hype, and I never got it. Because to me, it almost just didn't really sound that interesting. So when it was announced that this was going to be turned into a show, and it was going to have Brie Larson, I was like, you know what? Since I never understood the book hype, let me watch the show and see how it goes. And I really enjoyed this adaptation, you guys. And if anything, it also got me excited to read the book, which I finally got. I got it for Christmas, actually. So I did. I liked the show. It was a lot more comedic than I was expecting, considering that there's some pretty dark, dramatic, depressing things that happens in this show. It's weirdly enough highly comedic in places, which kind of it gives it some levity. You know, it gives it some much needed levity and some of the darkness going on in the background of this show. And I think something that can be a little frustrating, because it takes place in the 1950s, and Brie Larson's character, she's almost way too modern. You know, she's way too modern. She comes across as a much more modern female, so I think that can kind of be a little frustrating and irritating that she's way too modern for the time period. Because yeah, she is. She's essentially kind of a vehicle. She's a voice of now put into the voice of the 1950s, which a lot of people, that's really hit or miss with people. But it honestly didn't really bother me too much. I kind of just rolled with it, you know, because the surrounding story is what I was here for. I was here for the relationship that Elizabeth Zott had with another co-worker. And yeah, there's a dog in this show, you guys, a cute freaking dog named his name is 630. This dog's name is literally 630, and I loved it. And yeah, how this character Elizabeth Zott, how she gets her own cooking show, that was really appealing and interesting to me. I liked that whole angle. I wish the show could have had more of that. I loved everything but the cooking show, and I think this show was kind of lacking that. I wish there was a lot more of the cooking show, because I could have spent like a whole episodes really with that. At number 15, Love and Death. Set in the 1980s, following Candy Montgomery, a church-going housewife who gets caught up in an affair with a married man and is accused of killing his wife. Starring Elizabeth Olsen and Jesse Plemons. Oh, you guys, this was so freaking good. Oh my god. I have never heard of this Candy Montgomery woman, but apparently like a couple years on Hulu also did a miniseries about this woman. I think it was just called Candy. So I had no idea about this woman and this case and whatnot. Like I said from the synopsis, it's about a real life woman back in the 80s. She had an affair with a married man. Things kind of go a little south, and she's accused of killing this man's wife. And I'm trying to remember, you guys. I wish I had kind of remembered the result. You know what? I'm not gonna spoil it, because I wasn't familiar with this case at all, so I don't want to spoil it here. Kind of the outcome, but it's kind of shocking. Oh my god, this was so entertaining. It was just a wild and insane soap opera, but it really happened. You know, it's a soap opera that actually really happened back in the 80s. Just such a compelling story. I loved how it was told, because it's like, you know, from the get-go there's going to be a murder, you know, a really dark and serious murder. You know that from the get-go, but this show, it takes its sweet time kind of building up to that and really allowing you into this world and this community more than anything, because it's a really tight, close-knit community of churchgoers. And yeah, the fact that Candy Montgomery being just your normal average woman and housewife, and you know, cleaning the house and doing church things and doing school things with her kids, and yeah, she just randomly has this affair. She's bored and she feels like having this affair, and it goes badly, you know. And it is just such a shocking thing, you know, when she's accused of killing this man's wife. It was just thoroughly entertaining. Yeah, guys, just so bizarre and out there, just some of the things going on, but they actually really did happen, which makes it more entertaining at the end of the day. And yeah, the lead performances by Elizabeth Olsen and Jesse Plemons. Wow. Seriously, I'm just so frustrated that Elizabeth Olsen is not getting more award recognition, you guys. what's up with that? Seriously, Elizabeth Olsen was freaking insane with this performance, and I loved every minute of it. She just had such an incredibly nuanced performance that I appreciated. At number 14, Bodies. Four detectives in four different time periods of London find themselves investigating the same murder. Starring Kyle Soller, Jacob Fortune Lloyd, Amaka Okafor, Shira Haas, and Stephen Graham. This is a Netflix show that I wasn't quite sure what to expect. The trailers for this show were just so intriguing. And I did, like I said, I didn't know entirely what to expect. And boy, oh boy, this show was good. Oh my God, I loved it. Seriously, oh my God. I loved how creative and unique and original the whole concept was. Like I said, it follows four different detectives in four different time periods. You have a detective from the 1800s, a detective from the 1940s, then you have like a contemporary detective, and then you have a detective from the future, like in the 2050s, I think is what it was. And all of these detectives, they have no idea of each other's existence, really, but what connects them all, they're all investigating the same murder of this body of a naked man who just winds up in the same position on the exact same street. Who is this man? How is he dead? What's going on here? How is he in four different time zones? Or not time zones, like, eras and whatnot. How is this all possible? So yeah, this show is very timey-wimey, if you will, to use a Doctor Who reference. It's very timey-wimey. I loved kind of the unique angle of having, historical fiction and then contemporary and then the future. It just totally worked and blended so well together. And I was here for the mystery of this body, what's up with this body? How does it all connect? It leaves you hanging. And like every episode that ended, I was just so intrigued to keep going. It's like, I want to keep going. I want to binge this whole thing in one go. it was a struggle to like stop. So yeah, if you have not seen Bodies on Netflix, you need to go check it out because it's insane. I loved it. At number 13, Outlander, Season 7. The American Revolution has reached North Carolina. Jamie and Claire have to deal with unending crises at Fraser's Ridge, starting with Claire's near death, the resolution of Malva Christie's mysterious death, and the betrayal of someone close to them. Meanwhile, Roger and Brianna receive unsettling news about their daughter that forces them to make a tough decision. Starring Katrina Balfe, Sam Heughan, Sophie Skelton, and Richard Rankin. We're approaching the end of Outlander, you guys. We have like half a season left of season 7. God knows when that's coming out because we have the writers' strike and the actors' strike that happened. So God knows when the rest of season 7 is even coming out. That's why I decided to go ahead and include season 7 on this list, even though it's only half of season 7, because I don't really quite honestly know when the rest is coming. It could be sometime in the summer for all we know, or even later than that. But yeah, there's the second half of season 7 coming out, and then I believe we do have one final season after that. So we're quickly approaching the end of Outlander. I'm so sad about that. It's very upsetting. But I really enjoyed this first half of season 7. I really like how this show just it squeezes down Diana Gabaldon's books, because her books are just so huge, and sometimes there's just so much going on. It's like you some of it you don't really need. You don't need to adapt every little thing. So I like how this show really squeezes down and gets concise with what needs to be told and whatnot. Yeah, we finally get the American Revolution. We've been hearing all about the American Revolution for seasons at this point. It's finally here. We finally get people running around, shooting, stabbing. You got the redcoats over here, the American forces over here. It was all thrilling and exciting. I loved it. And yeah, I loved what Roger and Brianna were up to as well, because they have their own whole plot going on with their daughter. And yeah, they're kind of in a whole different setting as well. That's all I'll say about that. And it goes to some dramatic places that are totally unexpected, unless you've read the books, obviously. It's so hard to talk about Outlander when I'm kind of just talking about it here in just casual setting, because this deep into the show, like I said, season 7, and yeah, quite a number of books as well. It's hard to talk about it without like getting into spoilers accidentally. So I'll kind of end there. Yeah, I love this first half. Super exciting and thrilling. I love this world. I love these characters. Yay. At number 12, Queen Charlotte. A prequel to Bridgerton following a young Charlotte who is betrothed against her will to King George III, and she has to navigate the English court and her cunning mother-in-law. Starring India Amartitho and Corey Malcrist. Hot take, you guys. I went into Queen Charlotte thinking, oh, I'm not going to love this anywhere near as much as I love Bridgerton. But boy, oh boy, was I mistaken. I ended up loving Queen Charlotte more than Bridgerton. Like I said, hot take. I'm not sure if other people feel that way either, or if it's just me. You can let me know. I was really pleasantly surprised with Queen Charlotte, you guys. Um, I'm hoping it's just a standalone. You know, I don't think we necessarily have to have another season of this show. I mean, if we do, great. I liked this world enough as it was, you know. So yeah, I liked it as a standalone. I liked it as a companion to the main Bridgerton show. Yeah, really getting to look at the life of a young Queen Charlotte and whatnot, her relationship with King George, and yeah, his declining health. This show spends a lot of time not only focusing on Charlotte, you know, her as a woman, her as a queen, and whatnot. It also really focuses highly on her relationship with George and his declining health and his declining mental illness and whatnot, and her role in that. At the end of the day, this show is it's definitely a love story. You know, it's about a great epic love story. Even though there's a lot of anachronistic things going on in this show, we're not even going to get into all that because there's a lot of anachronisms going on in this show. It's like I don't care, you know. It's just so fun and light. I enjoy it. It's the same with Bridgerton. You know, there's a lot of things anachronistic about Bridgerton, but it's like I still highly enjoy it. You know, it's just the funness. You know, the funness and the joy of it. So yeah, Queen Charlotte, definitely a huge, pleasant surprise that just kind of went in directions I entirely wasn't expecting and whatnot. Yeah, once again, if you love Bridgerton, definitely check out Queen Charlotte if you haven't already, because I don't think you'll be disappointed. And at number 11, Domina, Season 2. After 3 years away, Livia and Gaius return to Rome under famine and conspiracy, and Livia continues her quest to return Rome to her father's vision of a republic. Starring Kaja Smutniak and Matthew McNulty. Oh my god, this show, you guys. I wish more people would watch this show. Why are people not watching this show? Yes, it can be a little cheesy and it definitely takes massive historical liberties and whatnot. But it's like there's still just something about this show. I get a kick out of it. I love it. I don't know if I would call it a guilty pleasure. I don't think it verges that far into guilty pleasure territory, but I love the drama, and yeah, I don't know a lot about ancient Rome, you guys. I do not know a lot about ancient Rome, and this show, it's sort of a bit of a history lesson to some degree, because I do, when I watch episodes, a lot of times I go and, you know, do some research, you know, to kind of sort through the fact and the fiction that the show is presenting, because once again, it's definitely taken liberties, but it's like you're getting those kernels of truth in there, which is what I am fine with, you know, as long as there's kernels of truth within inaccuracies and stuff and whatnot, I'm fine with that. Yeah, season 2 of this show, highly dramatic and all sorts of craziness going on, and yeah, is what's going to happen to Livia? You know, Livia comes close. It seems like near death sometimes, and assassinations, and getting exiled. You know, she goes through so much crap any given season, especially this season. Just so much happens to her, and it's like, how is she going to weasel her way out of this situation, you know, because even though her husband Gaius is kind of the power in ancient Rome, it's like she is really the true power going on in ancient Rome, and I love that. So you guys, that is it for part 2 of my ranking of all the historical fiction and fantasy shows that I watched in 2023. In the comments below, have you guys watched any of these shows, any that you would like to watch in the future? And yeah, are there some rankings that you don't agree with? Because if you don't agree with the rankings, that's okay, because that's your opinion. And yeah, let me know. Should things be higher? Should they be lower? Let me know. So yeah, stay tuned for part 1 coming out soon. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.